call to order the meeting of the Bakersfield City School District Board of Education. We will start with our roll call. Mike? Here. Laura?
Here.
CCB?
Present.
Brooke?
Here.
And I'm here as well. Looks like we have no public comments right now. So we will go to item number 3. It is recommend to adjourn to closed session.
Go ahead, Laura. This is Laura. I'm out of breath.
This is Chris, I second.
Thank you. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned. Alrighty, reconvening to open session, meeting of the Bakersfield City School District Board of Education. We will go we are on letter C. We're going to item number 2, pledge to the flag. I believe that's you, Brooke.
I would like to invite Giselle Ramirez from Frank West Elementary up to the podium to lead us in this evening's flag salute.
We'll all stand for the part where you
Okay.
get to tell us about who she
All right.
is.
Is it Giselle or Giselle?
Huh?
Giselle
Ramirez?
Giselle?
Giselle.
Okay. Before Ms. Ramirez starts, I would like to share some kind words from her principal, Mr. Russ Taylor. Giselle Ramirez is a 5th grader who's attended Frank West Elementary since kindergarten. She's a fantastic reader who also writes amazing stories with great detail. She is kind, thoughtful, and a good friend to everyone in her class. Giselle, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job. Okay, we're gonna go take a picture. Awesome. Anyone else need a photo? And then Mom, you can come and join us for the picture. Get in a photo? Mom, Dad? Yep. So he comes out in the picture.
Come here. Oh, Giselle? Those toys too?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Alrighty, moving right along to item number 3, report of closed session. I believe we have nothing to report this evening. That moves us to item number 4, excellence in BCSD employee recognition program.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure again this evening to introduce to you employees from our Bakersfield City School District family who are going to be recognized as recipients for BCSD and excellence. These individuals have modeled our district values and they have contributed in the success of our students out at our school sites and here in our departments. So I'd like to start out with the category of caring. And I'd like to introduce and hopefully that you will help me congratulate Kimberly Williams. She is a BIS from Chipman Junior High. Very good. Continuing on, let's welcome and congratulate Alexandra Belmontes, teacher from Voorhees Elementary. We also have Eva Peterson, teacher intervention specialist at Thorner Elementary. And Miss Diane Hislop, teacher at Evergreen Elementary. Still in the category of caring, we have Alyssa Montefar. She is a teacher at Roosevelt School. Nellie Haynes, Early Childhood Instructional Assistant from Nichols School. Help me congratulate Sarah Reese, principal from Muncie Elementary. And Beth White, teacher from Chipman Junior High. Okay, moving on to the category of collaboration. Help me congratulate Darlene Chiparelli, specially funded program clerk from Pioneer Drive Elementary. Get your picture. There we go. We also have Nicole Hall, teacher from Compton Junior High. And Kimberly Cruz, assistant principal from Williams Elementary. Congratulate with me, please, Jessica Goldberg, associate school social worker from Stella Hills Elementary. We also have Jeanette Morales, school clerk at Stella Hills Elementary. Let's celebrate Christina Bauer. She's a teacher at Fremont Elementary. And lastly, in a category of collaboration, please welcome and congratulate Jennifer Davis, teacher from Casalova Elementary. Thank you to all of our amazing employees. If you'll join our board, we'll
We're supposed to sit in the back. We have to like sign squares because we're like, but also we're supposed to be behind you. I guess usually we do 2 rows, but usually it takes 2 rows. you made it. Find the window.
I gotta work with her after a while. Oh my gosh, she taught you here. She's great.
It's the month of the women. There's so many incredible women today. She made that whole family. Nice.
That's the biggest regret you have today, dude.
All right. What's the biggest regret? I think I ate it. You know, mine wasn't good eating. I had a couple bites and was like, no thank you. I had half of it, but I just... Yeah, like guacamole didn't taste right to me. Like it tasted... It was sour, right? So I just started eating it. I was like, no. This doesn't taste right.
There's a lot of family here today.
That's great, though.
Yeah, really cool.
All the holiday and everything.
Here comes the fun.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, Caroline, can you pass me that stack of public comment?
Thank you, sir.
That's fun.
She took her corner seat. She can sit over there.
Pam's here. Good.
All righty, everybody. So we'll move on to item number 5 of our agenda, the public comment section of our agenda. So I will start with a brief announcement to our visitors. Members of the public may request that items be placed on the agenda of any regular board meetings. The items must be directly related to school district business. Items placed on the agenda by the public will be for information discussion so that the board may be advised of the views of the community. Individuals may address the Board of Education by completing the form provided at the door and submitting it to the administrative assistant prior to the start of the meeting. In order to run an efficient meeting, the board is not able to take questions or comments from the floor. The total time allotted for an individual to speak to an item shall not exceed 3 minutes and shall not exceed 15 minutes on any one subject. In order to ensure that non-English speakers receive the same opportunity to directly address the board, any member of the public who utilizes a translator shall be provided twice the allotted time to address the board. And I will let the board know that one of the items that we have does have more than 5 comments on it, which would go over 15 minutes. So I would entertain a motion to extend the time. There's only 6 comments on it, so.
Okay. She moves, I second. There you go.
Got a motion from Brooke and a second from Laura. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, cool. So we'll get it started. First up is going to be Israel Cavazos, and then Chris Lowe will be after that. Sorry.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm here tonight as a concerned parent to speak about the conditions of Jefferson School. Our school is over 100 years old, and while its history is something to be proud of, the state of its facilities is not. It's nothing short of unacceptable. The track is unsafe, filled with potholes, unkept grass. The blacktop where our kids are supposed to play has at times spewed sewage from a broken pipe that has gone unfixed for over a year already. I shouldn't have to say this, but our children shouldn't have to ask to be played next to sewage. On top of that, our kids are forced to witness drug use and drinking at the park next door because unlike other schools, We don't have a privacy fence. Many other schools in this district have secure fencing, even ones that aren't located next to a public park. Why is it that our school in this situation has been left without? You've been to our school 7 times. Mind you, 7 times for your culture walkthroughs. Notes were taken, promises were made, and no action has been taken. Is it because our school is on the east side of town that we're treated as we don't matter? This is not just about fairness, it's about safety, dignity, and accountability. Accountability applies to everyone, including everyone on this board. We expect real timeline, real action, and real results for our children. They deserve the same safe and secure, well-maintained environment as every other child in this district. Quit dragging feet, people. Let's get some stuff done. Your motto is work. The child comes first, not our school. Mr. Fuentes, you're our man. You haven't been there one time. Accountability applies to everyone, my friend. All right? So board, please take this into consideration. We have needs. Let's get this thing done. Thank you, board.
Thank you very much. Up next is Chris Lowe and Maria Ornelas. Welcome.
Thank you. We're back. We were here a few months ago. We are just here to show gratitude for you for on your consent agenda, K22 is the Art Reach contract. We are thankful that you guys have chosen us to continue our decades-long relationship with the district in providing the 5th grade the visual arts program. Each year, it's about 3,500 students that go through that program, so it's a huge program. We are just glad and appreciate you guys putting your trust in us. That's all we have to say. Do you want to say anything?
Well, just to follow up with Chris Lowe, we're really grateful. It's really important for the art museum to not just create art in our building, but bring it out to the community. And you guys have made this possible with your this program and this partnership. So just really grateful and appreciate you working with us and making this possible for us and the students that we're reaching. So just thank you.
All right, thank you for your time. Up next is Petra Villanueva.
Buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es Petra Villanueva. Soy de la escuela Mount Vernon.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Petra Villanueva from Mount Vernon School.
El primer punto que vengo a tocar fue del mes pasado, el punto 6, donde no se clarificó cuánto dinero se va a gastar.
The first point I want to touch is what we talked about last month, item 6. It was not clarified how much money will be spent.
En la transportación, el total que dieron fueron $348,000.
In transportation, the total you gave was $348,000.
Pero el extra, donde son de los bases escolares, no se nos dio, y como fue en junta pública, me gustaría que ese punto sí se clarificara.
But the extra,
en una
which
reunión.
involves the school buses, was not given to us, and we want to make sure that is, because this is a community meeting.
El segundo punto que vengo a tocar es el siguiente. Creo que nosotros como padres, ustedes como distrito y los board members necesitamos trabajar juntos porque estamos perdiendo en un punto importante.
The next point I want to touch, I believe we as parents and you as board, we need to work together because we need to touch on these points.
Para mí siempre el programa de los aprendices de inglés ha sido un programa muy importante.
For me, the program of English learners has been a very important program.
Donde se debe de envolver a los padres y en ese punto estamos fallando.
Where we need to involve the parents and we are failing in this point.
Muchos padres están esperando la información de juntas o de meetings acerca del programa del bilingüe.
Many parents are waiting for a meeting regarding the bilingual program
Por el Parent Square,
through Parent Square.
pero no todos saben manejar el Parent Square.
Not everyone can manage Parent Square.
El punto más importante es que los padres tienen que entender
The most important point is parents need to understand
qué quiere decir, número 1, aprendices de inglés,
to understand what it means, number one, to be an English learner,
reclasificación,
reclassification,
y qué quiere decir la obligación de presentarse a esos meetings
and what it means, the obligation to attend those meetings
para poder ayudar a sus hijos.
to help their children.
Tuvimos un taller muy importante sobre reclasificación
We had an important workshop regarding reclassification,
y para mí fue un total fracaso. Solamente 4 padres
For
asistieron.
me, it was a total failure because only 4 parents attended.
Cuando yo pregunté la razón, me dijeron, no, es que se mandaron flyers, es que esto, que lo otro. Y yo les pregunté, ¿y las llamadas personales?
For me, when I asked, they said, well, we send flyers and this and that. And I asked, what about person-to-person calls?
O sea, ¿no hay llamadas personales para estos padres?
There's no person-to-person calls for these parents.
¿Cómo vamos a cumplir con el aumento del envolvimiento de padres?
How are we going to make it happen that more parents get involved?
Que el anterior superintendente nos dijo que iba a haber un aumento.
The previous superintendent said there would be an increase.
¿Cómo lo vamos a hacer si no se está trabajando fuerte con ese grupo?
How are we going to achieve this if we're not working hard with this group?
Necesitamos más si queremos cumplir con las nuevas leyes que van a entrar de solo inglés.
We need more if we want to fulfill and follow the law that says only English.
¿Cómo se va a hacer si esos niños se van a quedar retrasados porque no hay gente que esté trabajando con ese grupo?
How would this be achieved if some children are going to be left behind if there's no one to work with this group?
Necesitamos hacer un trabajo más fuerte y más eficaz. Y como ahorita el nuevo superintendente sabe el problema que nuestros niños tienen desde que es del programa CABE y que ustedes han luchado fuertemente en ese programa,
We need to work harder and more efficiently because our new superintendent knows of the CABE program and the effects of that program.
necesitamos ayuda en todas las escuelas y el último punto que quiero tocar es la asistencia. Estamos fatal en la asistencia.
We need help in all the school sites, and the point that I want to touch is attendance. We need to get better attendance.
Las consecuencias de que nuestros niños falten, el castigo o la supuesta recomendación viene casi hasta fin de año. Cuando ustedes saben que en las primeras 3 semanas sabemos cuáles son los niños que deben de ser llamados.
The consequence or punishment that the child will receive comes at the end of the year when we all know that in the first 3 weeks we know who these children are.
A las 3 semanas todo mundo sabemos cuáles son los niños negligentes o que sus padres ni trabajan, están viendo las comedias y la escuela sigue recibiendo a los niños tarde y no hay consecuencias.
In the first 3 weeks, we realize who those children that have absences are, whose parents are not working, just watching comedy, and bringing their kids late to school.
Necesitamos poner en esos 3 puntos atención y muchas gracias por su
We need to
tiempo.
pay attention to these 3 points. Thank you for your time.
Up next is Cecilia Delgado.
Good evening, board members. My name is Cecilia Delgado. I am here on behalf of Eneida. She is the mother of a child with autism who attends College Heights Elementary. And I'm going to be giving you a lineup of phone calls that she's been receiving throughout this month. The first call was Wednesday, September 3rd at 8:58 a.m. And I'm gonna speak on I person so it can go faster. I received the first call from the school. My child threw up. When she arrived at school, the father was called, and he is not in the child's picture. Someone at the office, the secretary told her that the father had the rights over the students, and he was able to go whenever he wanted to. On Thursday, September 4th at 8:47, the child threw up. On Friday, September 5th at 12:10, the child threw up. School was notified that she would take him to the doctor on Monday, and he would not attend school. Doctor gave us a note asking not to give milk, only water and juice, and I gave that note to the school. Friday, September 12th at 12:34, the child threw up. He was given something with milk, and she told them that the secretary told them that the doctor's note did not state anything that they shouldn't be giving him any milk. On Monday, September 15 at 1:37, the child threw up again. Wednesday, September 17 at 8:38, the child threw up again. Thursday, September 18 at 2:50 p.m., I received a call saying that the student didn't want to ride the bus. And in my opinion, he should be following instructions, and they should not have to call me to tell me. On Friday, September 19 at 3:08, I got a call again to notify me that he had to be picked up, and I told him I would be there in 10 minutes. When I arrived, they gave the child to his grandfather, his father's dad, who is not part of his life, nor I don't know where he lives. On Friday, September 19, I told them that he would not be coming to school because this is out of control. I am a single mom, I have to work to provide for my kids, and my schedule is from 5 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. I try to rest during the time, and that's if I don't get a call from my second job. I feel that the people in charge of my son are not competent to care for his needs. He is missing out on learning because he gets sent home. Please contact me to fix this matter. And I'm gonna provide you with her information. Thank you.
All righty, thank you. Up next is Eddie Lane.
Members of the board, I'm Eddie Lane with the Sierra Club, and I'm very pleased to be back here again. We periodically report directly to the board about nature outings. And along with the report, I think I've done this before, I'm passing out beaver chips, which the beavers create when they bite into trees. And you can see the little beaver marks there. This is one of the things that we do when we have our nature outings. We have beaver chips for the students to have. Some try to eat them, but they don't taste very good. So. The premise of our work is that nature heals. Let's say that again. Nature heals. And one of the studies that we found out about, and we talked to the people directly, we had a tree dialogue, was from Nashville, and there the university there, the medical school, put in millions of dollars to put a whole lot of new trees into economically disadvantaged areas. You know, that's one of the major concerns we have. I'm just going to kind of be blunt here. A lot of the kids in the nice areas, they get to go to nature outings. That happens. But the students who are not in middle or upper income areas, they don't have those opportunities. And that's why we want to provide those opportunities to your students, and we have. We started actually some years ago, Migrant Education Director Flores worked with us, and we actually took a couple bus loads up to Kern River Valley, to the Audubon up there. But she retired, and that kind of went away. And then we worked briefly with Superintendent Lukey and things didn't pan out, so we tried again, and things have been working now. We do have a system in place where we are actually visiting two places, Hart Park and the Panorama Vista Preserve. And this gets the students into nature. And that's what's so important, to have that nature experience. Get them out, to get them out of their homes, where lots of times there are not trees or nature experiences. So we're delighted that we're on track. We hope maybe for some expansion in the future. And let me thank your interim superintendent, Dr. Aguilera, for it. He attended our meeting. It's very important to have you with the board, and you board know what's going on. But it's also important that your superintendent be engaged. And he met with us, and he was fully engaged, and we appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Up next is Pat Nolan.
Yes, good evening. I'm very familiar with our students in Bakersfield City School District. I am a retired Bakersfield City School teacher. I taught at College Heights for over 25 years. My husband was a Bakersfield City School teacher at Muncie. And even though I am retired, I still volunteer at Frank West in the 2nd grade class, working with students who are struggling to read. And so I really feel I know our students, and so many of them lack the understanding of nature. They don't get out. When years ago, when I was teaching 4th grade, we got to go over to the missions on the coast. And my 4th grade students, the majority of them, had never been to the ocean. And when we would take field trips to the Kern County Fair, the kindergartners got to see the animals and that. And some of them, you know, we were on the bus, they hadn't even been across town. They hadn't even been out of their neighborhood. And it is just so important that we have these opportunities for the students to get out. The preserve has all natural plants and the animals, and as Eddie showed you, the last year, the students who came got to see the actual beavers. And they were just thrilled. So I really appreciate you working with the Sierra Club. We feel that nature, education about the outdoors is just really critical to the students' lives and part of the education they should be receiving. So thank you.
Thank you for your time. Up next is Otilia Curiel.
Good evening, board. Thank you for having us. My name is Otilia Curiel, and I'm a concerned parent and a grandmother. I just wanted to talk to the board about Title IX, parental notifications. I understand that they were removed from the language in the sexual harassment policy that you guys discussed or looked into. Schools can now change a child's gender identity in records without informing parents. Translation, staff are ordered to keep secrets from families. This violates FERPA, which guarantees parents access to their children's records. This is a federal violation and it creates liability. All gender restrooms, boys may enter girls' bathroom and locker rooms, and girls may enter boys. Privacy destroyed, protection stripped, and liabilities created. Sexual harassment policy weakened. You deleted the line that said sexual harassment would never be tolerated. That lowers the bar, leaving girls and vulnerable students, including children with special needs, more exposed to harassment and abuse. There are no minor edits. They cut parents out, strip girls of privacy, weaken protections, and put this district in direct conflict with federal law. Superintendent, at the last meeting, you said staff are the guardians of the children. So let us correct you. Neither you nor staff nor the state are guardians of our children. Children belong to their families, not to the state. And let us be clear, this is not about erasing gays or forcibly outing anyone. This is about keeping parents at the center of the decisions made for their children. And let us assure you that regardless of who our children are, nobody will love them or fight for them the way that parents do. So 80% of this district's students are Hispanic, and more than 40% come from Spanish-speaking homes. We love God, we love family, we value parental authority. So do not tell us that our values are while you promote confusion and cut parents out. We value our children, we are here to protect them, and I hope that the parents stand up. We want to protect girls from being harassed or even molested. Anything can happen in those bathrooms, in those lockers, and we will not stand for that. Thank you.
Up next is Dennis McLean.
Good evening, board. I attended my first board meeting here in September of 2001 during the lockdown. I returned months later to speak against the lockdowns and mask mandates. As it played out, I was right. COVID was a hoax, masks were worthless, and thousands of children were mentally damaged from schools that were shut down. But the public school districts received millions of dollars to upgrade their schools and hire administrators. Go figure. Now your board has tried to change Title IX policy at last month's meeting. I'd like to read a recent court decision that may stop that. All boards in California got direction from CSBA, California School Board Association, to update the existing policy to reflect the court case Tennessee versus Cordona. They can't withdraw violating state law, so what they did was just switch around language and double down gender ideology and secret keeping. Although CSBA gave a directive, they did not give a timeline. The boards doing this are hoping the parents and the public do not notice. The board has given a directive to update policy to reflect a court case. From the looks of the policy, it appears nobody read the case. In Tennessee versus Cordona, the 2005 case vacated down Biden's Title IX regulations and tried to elevate gender identity to protect classification. The Arcadia court also held that forcing teachers to use names and pronouns based on gender identity violates the First Amendment as compelled speech. Teachers who hold sincere religious beliefs have an additional basis for refusing to play along with the gender identity game. The policy also violates Equal Protection Clause under the U.S. Constitution. In closing, I wish to praise Charlie Kirk, who gave his Christian life for spreading wisdom to the youth of today. May his words of faith and truth make this world a better place. Thank you.
Moving on to Jess Sanders.
Thank you, Board. I'm continuing with what he was reading. This policy also violates the Equal Protection Clause in the United States Constitution. Yet the policy presented doubles down on allowing boys to invade girls' sports and spaces. Our female students deserve fairness, privacy, and safety. Yet the policy violates those standards. What is happening is now to girls is they are being silenced because the members, the adults, y'all, are ignoring their rights for protection. You're not using your power to protect them. We cannot fail our daughters and young ladies in our schools by saying some delusion needs to be in their room. Find a different room for them. You have the opportunity to right this wrong and rescind the policy until you can come up with something properly reflects the court's decision of Title IX. We know the federal law on rights will trump state law. We also ask you to stand up for and protect our daughters in schools and agendas that might harm them. Honor the trusted citizens that have put you in as trustees and do what's right for our young ladies. Join the other California schools, districts, taking a stand for our female students. So there are only 2 genders, and then there's 97 delusions of genders. All of that during COVID, we were taught, follow the science. That would be like XY and XX. That's pretty much science. The rest is just delusions, feelings. We can't all jump up and jump down somebody else's rabbit hole, or nobody gets help. Number 1, having a negative impact on our students' habit. This is in your definitions and your policies on the board. So this is a definition of, or an example of definitions of sexual harassment. Having a negative impact on a student's academics. Young women being exposed to young men prancing around in their locker rooms, showers. That's got to have a negative impact on their academics. They shouldn't be forced to do that. Number 10 says, it is an example of sexual harassment. In your form says, displaying sexual suggestive objects. I think young men running around in the women's shower, sporting their own towel rack, is doing exactly that. So, it also says that all complaints...
All righty, we're going to move on to Terry Maxwell. That's time.
Good evening, board. You all look like very intelligent people. I know that all of you have higher education degrees. But I'm surprised that none of you, when the Sierra Club came up here and gave you out those wood chips, that you didn't ask if those beavers had pulled an EIR in order to pull those trees down. Sounds kind of ridiculous, doesn't it? Is it any more ridiculous than the policy change that you made last month? That parents shouldn't be notified about their own children? You know, if you're confused on how many genders there are, if you can't define what a woman is, congratulations, you're all qualified to be a Supreme Court justice. Because that seems to be the litmus test in order to get on that particular court. But let's be honest. As I said, you're all intelligent people. Mr. Fuentes, am I disturbing you?
I think we all disturb you.
Am I disturbing you?
I'm not allowed to take questions from dais. Keep going.
Well, I'd appreciate you giving me some eye contact so that I know that you're at least listening to me.
No thanks. Keep going. Your time is running out.
So I would say that I think most people on this board do know that there's a difference between a boy and a girl. When I was growing up, if a boy walked into the girls' locker room and started to undress, he would have been arrested for indecent exposure. But we have devolved into a situation where this seems to be the soup du jour. And I think that hopefully you have got a legal consultation on this, because I agree with the other speakers. You're putting yourself in a legal bind by allowing this to happen. The damage that was done through COVID is very small compared to the damage that will be done if we do allow young men into the girls' locker rooms. And I would think that you'd like to play that game rather than another. The last thing I'll remind you of is what's called the Supremacy Clause. That which the federal government has to say is what the law is, and it goes downhill. The state may tell you one thing, but the federal government is going to be the supreme power, and they have already made the decision that boys in girls' locker rooms and girls in boys' locker room is not the proper way to educate. What are you teaching our kids when you do not have the ability to let them know what the difference between a boy and a girl is? Thank you.
Up next is Mercy Peña. Mercy Peña.
Hello, my name is Mercy Peña, and I'm a mother and a grandmother to 3 girls, 1 in high school and 2 in middle school. I would like to ask for a resolution to this issue and protect our girls and women in sports. Title IX was passed in 1972, over 50 years ago, and it's only 39 words, and here it is. There are no persons in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subject to discrimination under any educational program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. For decades, US of A understood the definition and was very little confusion of what these 39 words meant. It meant that women had the same opportunities as men to play sports separately, but in 2026 what changed was the sex. By twisting the meaning of sex to not mean a male, which is XY, and a female, XX, but to mean gender identity. Considering what this means, a girl, a woman, is no longer a woman. Now anyone who thinks they are a woman can be a woman. A biological male, his male chromosomes, his male brain, his male hormones, his male reproductive system, male muscles and bones, none of this matters anymore. All that matters is that he says he's a woman and he defines as a woman. And he can compete with women. I also wanted to mention, we do have the Special Olympics for special education men and women. So my suggestion is to create a platform for this category. I am requesting the board to decide on a resolution to protect the girls and the women of Kern County. Thank you so much.
Moving on to Catalina Maldonado.
Good evening, board members. Buenas tardes a todos. Good morning, my name is Catalina Maldonado. I'm a mother and an advocate for education and parental rights. On August 26, when I was here, this board voted on changes to the sexual harassment and Title IX policy. You did it right in front of us, but you never clearly said what those changes were. You hid behind codes and only listed it as sexual harassment policy with a policy number without showing or reading the actual language. That is not transparency, that is deception. Here is what you voted for, and parents deserve to hear it in plain language. Parental notifications are removed. Schools can now change a child's gender identity in records without informing parents. Translation: staff are now ordered to keep secrets from families. That violates FERPA, which guarantees parents access to their child's records. This is a federal violation and it creates liability. All gender restrooms. Boys may enter girls' bathrooms and locker rooms, and girls may enter boys'. Privacy destroyed, protection stripped, and liabilities created. Sexual harassment policy. You deleted the line that said sexual harassment would never be tolerated. That lowers the bar, leaving girls and vulnerable students, including children with special needs, like our children with autism, more exposed to harassment and abuse. These are not minor edits. And again, I will be clear that this is not about erasing gays or forcibly outing anyone. This is about making sure that parents are at the center of decisions, of all decisions that regarding their students. Again, Hispanics, as Hispanics, we love God, we love family, and we value parental authority. Do not tell us what our values are while you promote confusion and you cut parents out. So my question to the board members is this: where will you be when our children suffer the aftermath of social experiments? Where will you be when they endure the side effects of experimental drugs and medical procedures? Where will you be when they want to turn back or when they are suicidal from these decisions? History has already shown us the danger. Look at the John Money twin study at Johns Hopkins. The child was experimented on and he did not survive. Do you want to have that on your hands? At the end of the day, it will not be you. It will be us, the parents and the families who are left to bind up the wounds of our children. Everyone who endorses you stands behind these policies. Everyone who supports you is backing secrecy and the removal of parents. And let me also be clear that they too will share responsibility. They too will share the liability. The consequences of these decisions are not only on you, they will be on them as well. Parents, you are not alone. Advocates for Faith and Freedom provides opt-out forms and resources so you can protect your rights. And educators,
That's your time, so we're going to move on to Lori
if your First Amendment
Cisneros.
rights or religious liberties
We already
are
extended the
violated,
time, so you've
advocates
got to
for
move
Faith
on
and
to the
Freedom
next
will defend you. You don't have
speaker,
to
please. Thank you.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent. My name is Lori Cisneros. I'm a trustee on the Kern County Board of Education. Tonight, I'm speaking as an individual in the community. And I'm here to just inform you that our board, or the board of Kern County Board of Education, recently passed a resolution in support of Title IX. And as already mentioned earlier, it was originally written in 1972 to protect biological females in biological female sports. And then the Biden administration changed the language, adding gender preference, gender identity, and sexual orientation. That opened up a big can of worms, and we live in California, and our governor supports that language. And then Trump won the election, and within minutes of being sworn into office, he changed the language on Title IX with an executive order, bringing it back to its original intent, which is about biological females. So I'm just informing you what the Kern County Board of Education has passed, and in light of that, we had the opportunity to participate in an amicus brief in a Supreme Court case that was just released. And so that is in support of the original intent of Title IX. So thank you.
Alrighty, up next we have Belen Carrasco.
Good evening, Superintendent Aguilera Fort, President Fuentes, Trustees Guerrero Salgado, Cruz Boone, Molly Alt, Eggert, Cabinet members, and members of the BCSD community. My name is Belen Carrasco. My pronouns are she, her, hers, ella, and we. And I've been a teacher with BCSD for 25 years. I have taught all levels, from kindergarten through 8th grade. And I'm currently teaching 8th grade English at James Curran Middle School under the stellar and transformational leadership of Dr. Gerardo Lewis. I'd like to start off by commending the board for considering the adoption of an ethnic studies resolution for the largest elementary school district in the state of California. This resolution is essential for our student population, nurturing for our community, as we so clearly see that is needed, and is long overdue. I applaud you for looking at our current data and seeing that while BCSD boasts many beautiful efforts to increase student engagement and academic performance, ethnic studies has proven to boost these outcomes at even higher levels across school districts in California and throughout the Southwest and even in the nation. I would also like to emphasize the importance of recognizing that community must be at the heart of this work. Ethnic studies is not only about learning history, but of understanding identity, honoring diverse lived experiences, and building strong, inclusive communities where every child feels seen, valued, heard, and empowered. This rigorous discipline is what I believe will bring about the changes we want to see in our future leaders. I would like to introduce you to a local community organization which I co-founded along with Octavio Barajas, Professor of Ethnic Studies at Bakersfield College and at College of the Sequoias. We are the Kern County Educators for Ethnic Studies, and our 50-plus active members have a vast array of knowledges, experiences, trainings, pedagogical practices, and a healing, safe space for educators to gather, discuss, honor, celebrate, and cultivate ethnic studies practices. This summer, we ran a 12-session Ethnic Studies Summer Freedom School, which drew crowds of 50 to 100 people nightly, and it's no surprise that attendees and presenters ask for more of this type of community education when they see us. I encourage you to reach out to KCE4ES as you begin to build this program. We urge you to support this resolution with community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is Emma de la Rosa.
Good evening, board. My name is Emma de la Rosa. I am a resident of Area 1. And before I continue with my comment, I'd like to take a moment to congratulate Trustee Eggert. I am a year late, but better late than never. Congratulations on being elected. I'm here to express my strong support for Resolution 2025-44, supporting ethnic studies coursework. As it's stated in the resolution, an ethnic studies coursework will have a positive benefit in our students' academic excellence and our students' academic engagement, and it will strongly support and promote a strong sense of self. And I want to take a moment to think about what we mean, what the benefits are of having a strong sense of self. When we think about youth substance use, what is one of the biggest contributors towards what is one of the contributors of youth substance use? It's often peer pressure, right? If a student does not have a strong sense of self or a strong identity, there's a much higher likelihood that they will engage in youth substance use, right? And ethnic studies will support a strong sense of self. And for that reason, I strongly support the resolution. I strongly support any efforts to ensure that our students are learning our history and learning ways of building resilience, and more than anything, build a strong protective factor from engaging in, to prevent youth substance use. So again, I strongly support this resolution, and I thank you for your consideration and your time.
Thank you very much. Up next is Nora Cisneros.
Good evening, members of the board, superintendent. A procedural question, if I may. Am I allowed to split my time with someone? Yes. Okay, I will split my time. Thank you. Thank you. So good evening, members of the board and esteemed public. My name is Dr. Nora Cisneros, or I'm Dr. Nora Cisneros. I'm here today as a parent of a middle school student at Emerson and a student at Franklin Elementary. I'm here in support of the resolution for ethnic studies, not just as a parent that sees the need for students to see themselves in the history books, in their classes, and sees a need in community. I'm also here as a practitioner of ethnic studies. I'd like to focus my minute on that. Every day when I teach ethnic studies at CSUB, I teach Latino and ethnic studies, and there's not a week that goes by that I don't have a student that says to me, I wish I had learned this earlier. I wish I had learned this in high school. I wish I had seen this in middle school. It's seeing their communities. It's allowing them to be researchers, to have that inquiry about the histories of their families, the histories of the place in which they live in. It encourages them to place themselves in the historical timeline. Ethnic studies is the only academic field, a robust one, with decades of research that has been proven to support student well-being, mental health outcomes, and prepare students to be scholars of their community. So I too wish they had taken this in middle school and high school, and now we're lucky to have that opportunity here today. I'd like to yield my time to my colleague and friend, Dr. Jose Villagran.
Good evening, board. Thank you for hosting this important discussion today. I came here to vigorously support the resolution for ethnic studies. I am compelled, however, to as well include the discussion of identity that comes within ethnic studies, and just encourage the board to consider the types of work that we do here as ethnic studies educators in this community, which evidently is incredibly hostile to difference, whether it be racial, gender, sexual identities, and otherwise. I have trans students coming into my offices regularly crying, pouring their hearts out to me, saying they fear for their lives right now. And I think listening to some of the voices in this room, I understand why. And I understand why my office has become a safe space for these students that represent, something different than the normative sort of identity that people tend to preoccupy themselves with. I've heard factually incorrect information as a trained cultural anthropologist with a PhD in cultural anthropology from the University of Texas at Austin. It's ridiculous to say there are two genders. These are things that we would straighten up in an ethnic studies class. We can talk biology if you want. We'd love to have that conversation within my anthropological training, but let's have the conversation. Let's not demonize people for difference. Ethnic studies is a field of study that for many of us saved our lives. I really appreciate Emma's comment about drug and harm reduction in terms of the potential for people to become empowered within their identity. I regularly have students that are first generation. Our school at Cal State University, Bakersfield, is predominantly first generation, that plead to me, to fight for the expansion of ethnic studies. They know their siblings' lives could have been saved and their educational trajectory saved with this. Thank you.
All right, sir, thank you. Up next, Kashanti Williams.
Sorry, how y'all doing today? Good evening, Superintendent Interim, President Fuentes, and members of the Board of Trustees. My name is Kashanti Williams, and I'm a parent, community member, and community organizer with Community Interventions. On behalf of our organization, I'm here tonight to share a proposal for strategic partnership with Bakersfield City School District. This proposal builds on earlier discussions we've had with district leadership on April 2nd, 2025. We met with then Superintendent Mark Luque and Dr. Boone to address issues at Kern Middle School, including school climate, chronic absenteeism, and the disproportionate suspension rates of African American Black students. The following day, during the African American Achievement Gap meeting, we again emphasized the need for partnership between BCSD and community-based organizations to make meaningful progress. Our focus in addressing the African American Achievement Gap and improving educational outcomes for Black students and families across the district. The data shows persistent disparities, but we also know progress is possible when schools and community work hand in hand. Community Interventions is a Black-led, centered grassroots organization. We are trusted in the community because we meet families where they are at their homes, in parks, and in neighborhoods gatherings. We've built relationships that can help strengthen BCSD's efforts to engage families more effectively. In our proposal, we outline strategies such as student empowerment workshops, parent leadership circles, peer mentoring, culturally relevant events, and integration with after-school programs, which we understand is where many resources are available to support students. We are prepared to begin at schools including Kern, Lincoln, Compton, and Washington Middle School. This partnership represents an opportunity to affirm the brilliance of our students, address root causes, and build stronger, more resilient school communities. We respectfully ask that the board review our proposal and consider it as a pathway towards equity for Black students and family in BCSD. I have the proposal for the interim superintendent, and we also support the ethnic studies resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our last comment of the evening is Ysidra Osby.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ysidra Osby. I am the Executive Director and founder of Community Intervention, which is a grassroots organization that Kashanti just spoke about. We are located about 3 blocks south of the district office. And I'm also here to speak about the African American Achievement Gap and about how we've been able to engage community continually. Since 2019, we have stood in the gap as many other organizations have did since COVID, and recently being invited to the African American Achievement Gap meeting, I learned that the achievement gap is many decades away for the African American students. So we are here to offer support. We currently have youth programming that during the summer, we have it during the week. During the school year, we have it on the weekends. We have engaged more than 3,000 young people throughout Bakersfield, and they love filling up our office. Our youth programming has exceeded our adult programming, and that's a good problem to have. We're definitely located in the right area of town, as our young people have very little resources that are positive to engage in this area. And so we ask that you take our proposal in high consideration and allow us to support. We are also attendees of the Freedom School. That was this summer, and it was amazing, right? It definitely instilled a deeper and higher level of cultural pride in myself. I also took my son, and my full staff also attended, and we are excited about the upcoming Freedom Schools that are also being offered. And so I know as a BCS student that ethnic studies would have helped me develop that cultural pride a lot long ago. And so I encourage you all to support that resolution. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time this evening. We'll move on to item number 6 on our agenda. That's the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on Tuesday, August 26, 2025. It is recommended those minutes be approved.
This is Chris, so moved. This is Laura, I second.
Thank you, thank you. Do we have any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to letter D, reports of district organizations. Our first up this week is Labor International Union of North America, La Una Local 777. Bob Boyd, president. Not here. So we'll move on to Bakersfield Elementary Teachers Association, Beta. Steve Comstock, president. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Wow, that was quite a public comment. I don't like the hate, so I'll try not to bring that with me. And thank you to all of you for being so tolerant. Well, I don't think I do the same job that you guys were doing. So I'm up here to talk. I had a whole list of things I wanted to talk about, but I'm only going to talk about one thing tonight, because once I saw it on the agenda, it made me so dang livid. I was like, why are we doing this yet again? H2. That is the thing, the item where you are going to vote to not pay the teachers what Ed Code says you are supposed to in Ed Code. This has only happened, this will be the 6th time that we've decided to do this. I mistakenly accused Harry Irvin of being the engineer of this, and I really think that it wasn't him, because he only did it once under his time in this district. The rest of it was Mark Lukey. And we're discovering there's a lot of stuff that guy did that wasn't all that great. This is one of the major things. This is something that is very demeaning, very aggravating, and it dishonors the teachers that you're asking to do the job. I've been up here, I don't know how many times now, talking about, can we please find a way to build bridges? And this is blowing those up. This is one of those things that if you guys choose to do this again, this year, it's one of the smallest ones it's been in the last 6 years. It's only $8.8 million that you didn't spend last year on the salaries that you were supposed to. But that $8.8 million translates into a 4.7% raise. The teachers got 0 raise last year. But, you know, it wasn't just the 1 year that frustrates me. It's basically going back 15 years and looking at board docs and finding that this has only happened in the last 6 years. And I'm very upset to see that our interim superintendent has decided to also sign off on this and send it to the county. It's already been signed off by the county. So the last ones that can say no are the 5 of you. So I guess that's who I'm talking to today. Because I know Sherry's gonna say, oh, it's an old piece of ed code that we shouldn't follow. But there's a lot of old laws out there that we follow. I don't know, the 1968 Civil Rights Act, that's a great one. Should we stop following that because it's an old piece of law? Speed laws, all kinds of fun laws. But I think that we should stick with them because they were put there for a reason. They haven't taken out this piece of ed code yet that says that you should be spending 60% of that budget on the salaries. So just to give you a little bit of insight as to what the board has done over the last 6 years, if it happens again this year, you will have basically picked the pocket of your teachers, your educators, your coaches, to the tune of $114 million over the last 6 years. That translates roughly, and this isn't perfect math, to about $11,000 per member per year for the last 6 years. You ask yourself, why do we have so many pips, dips, and interns? Why can't we attract the best people in the county? Why can't we maintain? Maybe it's because you do dishonor to the people that you're trying to bring in. And this vote is one of those things. We're heading into bargaining, and I guarantee this is a battle cry for bargaining now. Once I saw $114 million, we're gonna fill the room up. We're coming. So I ask you, please, stop slapping us in the face and picking our pockets. Do what the state says you should be doing. Ignore the business office and do what's right. That's all I'm going to talk about tonight because it's just that freaking important. And I'm going to stop before I say something I can't take back. Have a great night.
Thank you, Steve. Moving on to item number 3, Classified School Employees Association, CSEA, Chapter 48, Dinah May Jimenez, President.
Good evening, Superintendent, members of the board. I just have a few brief updates to share. First, I'd like to remind our department heads and principals to be mindful as we move through the annual employee evaluations process. While evaluations are important for professional growth, they can also be a source of stress for staff. We ask that they take this into consideration. It was recently brought to my attention that an employee suffered a heart attack shortly after an office meeting with the department head and other staff members. I share this not to alarm, but to emphasize the importance of compassion and awareness of the well-being of staff. Next, our upcoming negotiations meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, October 1st, 2025. I'm pleased to report that we have reached a tentative agreement on some articles, and we look forward to returning to the table and continue negotiations and maybe reaching a full agreement. Lastly, while labor management meetings dates have not yet been finalized, I am looking forward to receiving those calendar invites and continuing our productive sessions. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. We'll move on to letter E. That's the Board of Education section of our agenda. We will start with board member comments. That's number 1. This week, Mike Eggert, you're up first.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. We've been a little over a month into our school year, and it's just so nice to see a different perspective, a different attitude out on the school campuses. a different sense of pride. And I appreciate, as our district goes through a transition of superintendents, of how much, our staff is appreciative of that. We as a board have a big undertaking that we've started, and we know what the community wants, and we'll continue to hear from them. But I just have to say publicly that how pleased we are with Dr. Aguilera-Fort, with his perspective, him being out there and talking to people, talking to the community, talking to the teachers, talking to the whole staff. And it certainly, as a parent, when, we as board, or I can only speak for myself, when people comment positively with a great attitude, and that's really what we want to see. I attended Grandparents' Day at a special needs class at Fletcher last week. It was just so insightful, just the engagement. I appreciate the instructional aides, the teacher, and the hard work that they put into it to make not just the grandparents welcome, which I was one of them, but the children were so engaged and excited to see us. And I just look at that family bond and that welcoming that's so important for us to build this with our schools. And I love when I see it that way. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Moving on to Laura Guerrero Salgado.
Good evening. I want to start off with, yes, we are about a month and a half into a school year, and there's a lot of things going on at every school site. I want to focus on the east side. There's been a new crosswalk that has been put out there, and there's still parents that are angry and upset because the traffic flow. People are still speeding, and that's something that the district cannot control. That is out of our jurisdiction. That area is very tricky because if you go one way, it's BPD. If you go the other way, it's sheriff. So CHP has been out there a couple of times, and I heard from a parent, I got a ticket, and you guys are going to pay for it. Well, we're not the ones behind the wheel. And if there's clearly two arrows, one that directs you to go north, one south, don't use the one that's to go north to head south. Our kids, our students are using those crosswalks. Be respectful. Be respectful of our staff when they're out there with the stop sign, crossing our students. Also, it's just common sense. The area is yellow, it's pick up, drop off, not park and go into the office or walk your student all the way in, and you hold up traffic. It can get frustrating for all the parents, and we got kids getting dropped off in the middle of the street. That's at nearby elementary schools. And again, parents, we are responsible for our kids. If we don't trust the staff that's outside of our school at the drop-off area, then please park and walk your child all the way to the gate. On another note, the board attended CLSBA, the California Latino School Boards Association Conference in San Diego. There was very, very many powerful sessions. Wanted to take them with me, but last minute babysitter had an accident. Again, it goes back to traffic safety around our schools, right? I'm sharing this because our kids watch our board meetings. Our students are being empowered. They're watching us adults. In one of the sessions that I went to, there was a poem in Spanish already on the table. And my son picked it up. He read it with no problem. We have some amazing teachers at BCSD, let me tell you. And the gal that was facilitating the session asked him in front of everybody, "You know how to read in Spanish?" For a minute, he was kind of insulted, and he was like, "Who doesn't?" He read it, and as the gal went on to talk about what her session was, Spanish material that is genuinely written in Spanish is not the same as Charlotte's Web that's translated, right? Again, my son was, doesn't everybody do that? He went on to talk about the dual immersion program at BCSD in front of all these adults with no issue. Let me tell you, he made BCSD look fantastic. I am proud of our staff. We all got to keep working together. All of us. At one point, the gal was trying to sell something, of course, like every other conference. And it was interesting to him, to me, confidently raise his hand and ask her, where would they come from? What budget? Because you're saying it would be during school, so it wouldn't be in the ELOP money. So it would be the general fund. So you're saying we're gonna tell the teachers we're cutting your pay? And I'm over here trying to pinch my son, like, be quiet. He's all like, no, it's true. Because Miss Gladden, you're the highlight at home when they're talking about budgets. You know, sitting there and looking at my son, holding an adult conversation without bumping heads, right? Without questioning the problem and not attacking the person, right? I think we all have to learn from this. We attack problems and not people. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Laura. Up next is my turn. So I want to address a few things. Firstly, Laura, thank you for mentioning the dual immersion program. BCSD is fantastic. In a lot of ways, we're doing a lot of great work. We have a lot of work to do, but we really are doing some great things, like getting the kids outdoors. Super, super important. I'm really, really proud that we are doing that. I'd also like to take a little bit of time, because it's going to come up on item number 4 of the agenda, the ethnic studies discussion. But as facilitator, I don't like to jump into discussion very much, and this is my comment, so here I go. Ethnic studies means a lot to me too. As a kid, I remember my dad telling me that I'm a Chicano, and I didn't really know what that meant, but it turned into something super important in my life. I didn't get to learn about that in schools until I was in college. Throughout my education in college and even after college, as I became a teacher, I started to teach Chicano studies classes and ethnic studies classes wherever I could. One of those places was Escuelita Aslan in South Central LA, super fun. Even taught some ethnic studies summer school classes in a freedom school at that office on Baker Street back when it was all of us or none. This is important work, and I am super glad that BCSD has got it on the agenda for number 4. That'll be it. Up next, it's CCB.
Hi. I just wanted to start by saying thank you to everyone who came and spoke tonight. That's not an easy thing to do, and I think in the wake of unimaginable violence, people feel called to speak to their beliefs and values, and we don't always have to agree on what those things are, but I appreciate that people are taking positive steps in our community in the wake of a tragedy that has really had a rippling effect in this community. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Chris Cruz-Boone. I'm a college professor as well, and I'm a big old policy nerd. Like, I'm just gonna straight up admit it. I love to read the policies, much to the annoyance of some of the district staff. Like, I will literally be like, why does this say shall and not should, or should and not shall? And so I do read all of the policies that we update. Most of those updates come directly from a program that we use called Gamut. That is a CSBA application, and then we wordsmith the recommendations with our lawyers, with our staff, and with the board. I did have a couple folks that spoke tonight reach out to me personally via email. I did respond, and when I responded, I gave them my personal cell phone number. And I do that with a lot of people who reach out to me, especially if they want to talk about policy. So I encourage anyone tonight, I know the district will reach out to you separately, but please feel free to reach out to me because I love policy conversations as long as we aren't calling, you know, queer kids some kind of weird diversion. I don't know what word you use, but like if we could avoid doing that, I'd love to talk direct policy. I would also recommend that you visit our policy 605.11, and that's our student and family privacy policy. So we are not trying to secretly like share information about kids in the district. We have separate policies specific to that, and I'd love to go over that. We also have policy 400.20. That is our specific policy related to athletics. We are an elementary school district, so we actually have a lot of co-ed programs. A lot of our children have not gone through puberty, so it's okay for them to play soccer together. We don't have big enough programs where they could exist if they did not. And so it's a little bit more nuanced and complicated because we're dealing with elementary school children. Additionally, to my knowledge, I visited every campus. I've never seen a locker room, but maybe they exist somewhere or they did at some point and that's some misinformation. But we don't have locker rooms, and we do have co-ed sports programs in some of our and activities.
I just asked, no, we don't have locker rooms.
Yeah, I don't think we do. Do we? Am I wrong?
Either, right?
Okay, I didn't know for sure. That was like our first draft comment. I'm not sure. I was like, I've been to the campuses, but they didn't take me there. But maybe they didn't take me there for some reason. Sometimes they're like, go look at this. Yeah.
We used to. It's been a while.
Maybe like the middle schools had them at some point. Like how we had lockers back in the day. Yeah.
Like years ago?
Like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean,
Thank you for that.
No, I think these are like worthy conversations to have, and it made me question, like, is that something we have? I'm not sure. And so I just wanted to continue, folks, to keep having those conversations. But what Laura said, I think, is so true. We can do so and attack problems without attacking people. I am a devout mother and a devout Catholic and a devout community leader, and I'm not afraid of those conversations. Please call me. Talk to me, you know, during our break, anything. Let's have them, but just know, like, I will walk away if I feel like you are being disrespectful to queer children and children of color. I also wanted to say kids are getting really sick right now. For those of you who don't know, we do have wellness centers, and those are available for you to go by and get medical help. If you don't know how to access those, we also have this great thing at every single campus called a Family and Community Engagement Center, and we have a liaison at every campus. So if you want to go to your campus and learn how to advocate better or have your questions answered better, I got to be honest with you, sometimes I ask them first and not the superintendent's office when I'm afraid to ask a question because they know the answers to a lot of these questions, right? And so if you're concerned about something that's going on a campus and how do we appeal that, or what are my students' rights, like that's a great first step to have an advocate. Their job is literally to be an advocate and provide you services. And Petra talked about this a lot today. She said, like, we need more people going to those. So I hope one of the effects of tonight is that, one, we all acknowledge we may not agree, but we all care about kids, and we can have hard conversations together. And two, we have the infrastructure in this district to try and have those conversations. Please bring those parents to us, because we want to have them, and not just us, the board, but also to our campuses so we can provide the services that kids need, and we can make sure the parents are empowered in any way they feel they need to be in this district. Thank you so much to all the teachers. I know we're getting like to that time in the year where the behavior issues are starting to start. So thanks for hanging in there. It's been so great to visit all the campuses this last month. Please keep inviting us. We love coming. Please keep coming to our meetings. We love hearing from you. And let's all just keep having hard conversations because we can handle it.
Thank you, CCP. Brooke, your turn.
Just a couple things from me. First, I want to thank our superintendent and my fellow board members for the time we spent together at CLSBA this month. That time was valuable in helping us learn how we can continuously empower our students and become more engaged and become more effective advocates for our district. So I really appreciated the time, and it was just a very amazing conference, and I too was very impressed by all 3 of Laura's children being very well behaved there the entire time. You would look over and they were just... Okay, I also wanted to acknowledge the work we did this past Friday to strengthen our board dynamics. That time was important as we prepare for the journey of selecting the next superintendent. And I also wanted to speak to what Mike spoke to. I don't think we've been talking enough about the process of selecting the superintendent, and I think it's been making some people a little uneasy. I know that I'm receiving emails, I'm receiving phone calls. I spoke to some people in person and I feel like they're being left out of this. So I just wanted to reassure the public that we've kind of slowed the process down. I think it's a good thing that we're really feeling confident with our interim superintendent, so we're not feeling rushed. As a board, we have slowed the dialogue, and I just wanted to let you know too that I haven't even had a conversation with our main point person. I believe I'm going to have that on Thursday. So I think the public thinks we're a lot further ahead and that we're not valuing community input, and that is absolutely the opposite. Last week when we met, Dr. Chris Cruz-Boone reminded our point person that the public input has to take place before we make any important decisions. So I just wanted to remind everyone that even though we haven't been talking about it, because obviously there's a lot of other things happening within our school district, that it is a priority to hear everybody who wants to speak out about the qualities they want to see in our superintendent. That is very important to all of us. So you have not missed out on that. There'll be more information to come. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Carlene Aguilera-Fort.
Thank you, Mr. President. Buenas noches. Good evening. Carlene Aguilera-Fort, interim superintendent, and I will put an emphasis on the interim superintendent. With that said, I just want to highlight few pieces. The more as of today, I have visited intentionally with the instructional lenses of a teacher first, and then principal and all these other pieces. I have visited so far 15 school sites, and I have visited over 60 classrooms. And in every school site, I had spent at least minimum 1.5 hours of that visit. And while it is true, there are things that we need to do better, and there are things that we can always aim to improve on behalf of our children, I also want to highlight that I have been able to see the joy of being in a classroom in the Bakersfield City School District, the joy of students owning the classroom and owning the learning environment, the joy of visiting a classroom and students learning since kindergarten. Good morning, you look wonderful today, or you look handsome, or you look beautiful. In a kinder class, students have learned to do that by the second month of school. They own the classroom, they walk around, they can articulate what they are learning and what is the task at hand and why they are doing this task. I also have to say that our classified staff in those school sites, whether it's campus supervisors, where are the people in the nutrition services or cafeteria, whether it's the custodian, I have only experienced as well the joy of being in those school sites. So, and I have no problem in highlighting it because my lenses are really trying to be as objective as possible while also showing the care and the love that we have for children. And I also want to assure people that your kids are in good hands. Thank you for entrusting the education of your child to the Bakersfield City School District, because I want to make sure the day I leave, whether it's December, May, June, whatever that is, I am promising people that I will be one of the biggest ambassadors and cheerleaders for the Bakersfield City School District for these things that I just have mentioned. They are not fake. They are real. And again, yes, a lot of work to be done. We have seen the data. Connecting that, I also want to thank the community and the members of the African American Achievement Gap or Opportunity for meeting with us and for giving us their perspective about what is it that need to be done to improve the ways in which we have addressed or not the needs of our African American students. However, the emphasis right now is on assets because we want to make sure that we also see our kids with the brilliance and the talent that they bring to our schools and using that as a bridge to actually teach them whatever else we need to do. And the commitment is to continue working with the community, as well as the members of the DLAC. Thank you as well, because we have been making sure that we attend all these spaces and settings so that we can hear from you, because at the very end, our responsibility is to make sure that your child feels and experiences safety regardless, feels and experience that he, she, them are being taught in our schools, and then when they go back home, you welcome them as you see them with a big smile because they had a good day at school. So again, thank you, we'll continue, and I'm excited to share that by the second week of October, we will have our first Superintendent Fellows meeting. And the Superintendent Fellows are students that represent each one of the schools. And they are going to be our advisors in decision-making that actually for things that really matter to them. And so it's not just one session. They are going to be meeting with me once every other month. And if we need to do once a month, because it will be up to them, we'll do it. So we will have 42 students joining the superintendent, and they are not the advisor, they are the fellows, because we believe that they have ideas that can help us to do our job in a better way for them. So thank you, President.
All righty, thank you for your report this evening. Heck yeah. Moving on to item number 3, the Cultural Heritage Recognition for October Filipino American History Month. And it is going to be presented to us by Laura.
Thank you. Filipino American History Month. Bakersfield City School District recognizes the heritage of Filipino Americans in our community and encourages all students, staff, and Bakersfield City families to deepen their understanding by celebrating the rich history, culture, and contributions of the Filipino American community. Filipino Americans make up one of the largest Asian American groups in the United States with a population of more than 4 million. On October 18, 1587, Filipino sailors first set foot on the American continent, landing at Morro Bay, California. Filipino Americans have contributed in many ways to American history. During World War II, many Filipino Americans from the Central Valley volunteered to fight for the United States. In recognition of their service, these veterans were later awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. In the 1960s, Filipino American labor organizer Larry Dulay, did I say that right? Rose to national prominence when he, along with others, organized the Delano Grape Strike, a pivotal moment in the American labor movement. On September 9, 2009, the California State Assembly official designated October as Filipino American History Month. The U.S. Congress followed suit later that October, recognizing the enduring legacy and contributions of Filipino Americans in the state and across the nation. The Board of Trustees encourages all staff and families to visit our BCSD Cultural Heritage Guide, located on our district webpage for activities and resources to honor, recognize, and celebrate Filipino American history. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. So, moving on to item number 4, resolution number 25-44, supporting ethnic studies coursework. It is recommended that the resolution supporting the development of ethnic studies coursework be approved.
This is Chris, so moved.
I'll second.
Thank you, thank you. Any discussion on this item?
Can I talk about this a little bit?
Please do.
So, similar to you, I remember when I first read Sandra Cisneros' House on Mango Street. And it wasn't when I went to BC, and it wasn't when I was in high school. It was when I transferred as a student to Cal State Northridge. And that was one of the ways I first fell in love with learning, was knowing that you could read about people that were like you. And then about 11 or 12 years ago, I was doing my doctoral research. And my doctoral research was actually, how do we get more underrepresented students successfully, okay?
Yeah.
To successfully enter the STEM fields. And so I interviewed dozens of graduate students and instructors from science, technology, engineering, math, primarily the geosciences. And the strangest thing happened. One of the common threads for my students that made them passionate about their work was when it related to the place that they come from. When they had an opportunity to understand the way water has affected generations and the way it connected to their culture. When they had a way to understand the way the dirt influenced what their parents were picking or growing out in the fields. They felt more connected to the research they were doing. And when I found this out, I actually didn't have the language to understand the phenomenon being described to me, which is place-based learning, which is one of the core tenets of ethnic studies. And that was the first time I really learned about ethnic studies and realized what a powerful tool is, not just to learn about your own culture, but to have interdisciplinary moments where we can embed it across the curriculum. And so I think we have a real opportunity, and I think it's something we do in small doses already, but I'm really glad that we're declaring as a board that it's something that matters to us on a larger scale.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'd just like to say this has been a long time coming. Thank you for getting this on the agenda. And I also would like to thank all the teachers that I know have been very passionate about this and outspoken and have brought their spirit of wanting to get this out into the curriculum and pushed it through. So I appreciate everyone out there that's helped.
It's definitely been a real community effort, so thank you for pointing that out, both of you. Anybody else? Cool, we have a motion and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, great, cool. We will move on to item letter F. Board will take a 5-minute recess. So, reconvening here, we'll move on to item letter G, our Assistant Superintendent's report, Mrs. Laura Orozco.
Good evening, President Fuentes and Board of Trustees. So under my division, I only have our federal addendum to be hopefully for your review and approval.
All righty, thank you very much. We'll move on to that item number 2, LCAP Federal Addendum. It is recommended that the LCAP Federal Addendum be approved.
This is Chris, so moved.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. Any discussion on this item?
Thank you for those updates.
Okay. Any other discussion? Cool. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to letter H, Business Services. Number 1 is the Assistant Superintendent's report, Mrs. Sherry Glad.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to give an introduction to the unaudited actual report that's coming before you tonight for your consideration and approval. So our Fiscal Services Department has just completed the process of closing the books on the prior fiscal year, 2024-25. The unaudited actual report is a snapshot of the district's financial outlook or position as of June 30th, 2025. And the reason why we do the unaudited actual is it's prescribed within Ed Code that every district present their financial outcome at the end of the fiscal year in a prescribed format. And why is that important? It's important because when we're all using the exact same reporting format, it's very easy or easier to compare districts and agencies across the state. Are you helping me? Am I not doing the clicker right? Maybe. Let's see. Yeah, no, it's me. User error. It wasn't on. I apologize for that. Okay, so tonight's overview is meant to bring forward the key highlights of the report. It's over 130 pages on its own, and it is very small print and very small numbers, so it's helpful to give an introduction of the key takeaways of the report, but I always do invite you to peruse the entire document, which is attached to the board docs and will be attached to our district website under the Fiscal Services website under financial reports in the future. So we're going to look at the general fund activity, but we're going to break it down into components. So first, let's look at the revenue. For the 2024-25 fiscal year, the general fund received $694 million in revenue. That revenue was pretty equal contributions from both state and federal sources. That again is pretty unique because as we continue forward in future fiscal years, we're going to see that federal portion decrease. We don't normally receive as much federal revenues as we do state revenues. This is the continuation of all of the mainly federal ESSER dollars and other federal one-time dollars that we've been receiving since the pandemic. But it's very clear that the largest portion of our revenue is derived from the LCFF formula. So what that tells us, and the takeaway that we should glean from that, is that our district's funding is very reliant on the population that we serve. LCFF comes to us off of attendance, and so attendance is driving 61% of our revenue, so the lion's share. So as we look at that, I just throw in here a glimpse of where we were in 2024 as far as our enrollment. Our funded ADA is the red line. Our actual ADA, so average daily attendance, is the yellow line. I give the prior years for history because in 2024-25, our LCFF funding was based on the average of the 3 prior years. And that's because the LCFF funding model now offers these ADA relief measures that came about post-pandemic and were for the aid of districts as we all struggled with lower attendance during the course of the pandemic, but also for BCSD, if you're in declining enrollment, we continue to experience declining enrollment, as well as trying to improve our attendance rates. So looking at the other major section of the general fund, we looked at revenues. Now let's take a glimpse at expenditures. The general fund had $668.7 million in expenditures. The most significant portion of our expenditures, so 74%, are people-centered, so those are our staff salaries and benefits. Those are regular positions, those are subs, and those are extra time costs. Following up behind that, our next most significant area of expense is services and other operating expenses, but I also want to highlight that that also includes our utilities, our crossing guards, our classroom leases, other contracts and operating costs that are part of running our school site programs. So now we're going to look at the overall position or the financial position of the general fund as of June 30th, 2025. This is going to be a lot of numbers, so I'm going to walk us through them and just slide them on the screen a little at a time. So we just visited the revenues and expenditures in the general fund, received revenues, spent funds for the 2024-25 fiscal year. So revenue in, expenditures out, result in a net increase in the fund balance of $25,432,995. That alone doesn't tell us the whole picture. We need to look at it based on unrestricted and restricted funds within the general fund. So the $25.4 million carrying down, we started with our beginning balance, the net increase changes that beginning balance to give us the resulting ending balance for the fiscal year. Now what I'll call out, the $25.4 million net increase in the general fund should seem somewhat familiar because we just brought forward our estimated actuals back in June, which was the second half of the report that our adopted budget was on. And at that time, if I can recall for you, that we last year were originally planned to use our ESSER 3 funds substantially towards replacing the chiller units, our chiller systems at our school sites, so an HVAC upgrade. But the federal administration rescinded the extension on the timeline, and so as a result, BCSD moved general fund expenditures, allowable general fund expenditures, into our ESSER funds to still fully utilize those dollars, and then moved the ESSER, previously ESSER HVAC projects into the general fund. The result though, when we moved out those general fund expenditures into ESSER in order to fully use those funds, is that we ended up with a large balance at the end of the fiscal year. So in our estimated actuals, you'll see over $20 million projected for the net increase in the general fund because the HVAC projects weren't all finished at the end of last year. So we have that amount carrying over for the portion of the projects that are continuing this year. So those projects cross over fiscal years. So I want to call forward that we saw a large expected net increase of over $20 million to our general fund on our estimated actuals. That is the result of the HVAC projects and that funding maneuver with the ESSER funds. We also saw on our estimated actuals that we expected to spend down on our restricted side these dollars, these grants and entitlements that we had received over the prior years that had been funded up front. Were sitting in our reserve for us to apply them to our program over their timeline. Some of these programs last all the way through June 30th, 2028. So we'll still be spending some of these programs all throughout the continued timeline. So if we break the ending balance down, on the general fund side, the ending balance of $174 million, I'm just gonna round, can be broken down into non-spendable. That's the inventory in our warehouse, and that's the amount in our revolving funds when we have to cut an emergency payroll check or when we give a travel advance for an employee attending a conference as such. We have the committed
the committed balance, which is our LCFF supplemental and concentration funds. These are the balances from the 2020-21 fiscal year through the 2023-24 fiscal year. There was nothing added to that balance as of the end of the 24-25 year because, again, we're returning back to normalcy. For 2024-25, the district fully expended the entire supplemental and concentration award that we received in that fiscal year. The HVAC replacements, that is the final balance. We projected how much we were going to have continuing forward, but once you pay the bills, how much work is completed, how much they billed for at that time, we still needed to commit that amount in order to continue forward with the rest of the projects. And then there is the 3% required reserve for economic uncertainties, and the remainder falls under the line item of unassigned. Then we want to further break that out. We combine our reserve for economic uncertainties with the unassigned balance, and that's what gives us the available reserves. The available reserves is important because when we talk about the reserve percentage, and within the unaudited actual report, that's one of the criteria and standards, is to call out how much your available reserve is in dollar amount as well as percentage. But we don't only operate a general fund. We operate other funds within the district, such as our pre-K fund, our cafeteria fund, our facility funds, our insurance funds. And so across all district operating funds, the district received or took in $863 million, and we spent out $799 million. We had an increase across all fund balances of $64 million. That is primarily, about half of that is within our facility funds because we received a significant amount of state school facility dollars that we had set aside for the new elementary school or whatever other expansion projects we need to take on. So I'm not going to go through this one in detail, but just for information, this is a lot easier to look at than the unaudited actual report for the fund balances. It's just all of the operating funds of the district, the beginning balance, the revenues, the expenses, the ending balance, and what the change in each fund balance was. Calling out that the building fund, the capital facility fund, and the county school facilities fund are our facility funds combined. And those were over $30 million of that $60 million increase. So in addition to the fund forms, which are just the financial position of each operating fund at the end of the year, there are other components, other supplemental forms and reports that are included within the unaudited actual report. And so these are the highlights that I'd like to, I think it's worthy and the board should be advised of. There's a federal maintenance of effort requirement, and the district met that requirement, and that is intended to make sure that we are not using the federal dollars that we receive to supplant or in lieu of the state and local dollars that we're already required to be spending. In addition, there's a separate maintenance of effort for our special education program, which again, to that same intent, is that we would not be using federal special ed dollars to replace the state and local contributions that we're legally required to make to the special education program. We also fill out what's called the GAN limit calculation, but it's a California constitutional appropriation limit. It's intended to slow or restrict the growth of California state spending. As a taxpayer recipient, a school district receives state tax dollars and local tax dollars, so we are part of this calculation for the state. And what it takes into consideration is how much your spending limit was in the prior year, if personal income tax revenue are expected to be increasing in the state, because if personal income is increasing, the state would receive more tax revenue, so then they would have more revenue available to spend. So it takes that into consideration. It also takes into consideration what the district's population is. So how many students are we serving? My spending can't necessarily increase, or my spending limit can't necessarily increase if my student population isn't increasing. So anyhow, it's a very long formula. There's a separate resolution that's attached to the board agenda tonight on that, because we are legally required to calculate what our spending appropriation limit is for the 2025-26 year. And once we close the books, we're required to recalculate what the spending appropriation limit was for the year that just ended. And then the next thing that I would call out on one of the supplemental reports that I think is always an area of interest for our board members and the public is the admin to program cost ratio. So this is not school site admin. This is not meant to say like there's a principal at every school site. So it's not taking that into consideration. Central office admin costs, which is not exclusive to just salary and benefit. This is everything that it costs at an admin department or admin level. We're at 4.57%. We would always want to see that below 5%. It can be influenced in years. You'll see some wiggling in some years, which didn't affect this year, but for instance, the prior fiscal year it did. When we do upgrades to our IT equipment, our servers, infrastructure like that is admin costs as well. You don't see them every year, but the years that you do see them, you can see a wiggle on that percentage. And then I also want to spend some time on Form CEA, the classroom expenditure requirement. And so this is the requirement that Mr. Comstock was speaking to within his public comments. This is for elementary school districts. The requirement is 60% of expenditures fall within the teacher and aide classroom expenditures. And for the 2024-25 year, our district CEA percentage was 58.31. So we are deficient of that 60% requirement. As a dollar amount, that deficiency is $8.87 million. We have had historical deficiencies. The last year that we met our CEA requirement was in 2018-19, which was immediately before the pandemic. Post-pandemic, when we started receiving all of the COVID relief funding and the learning loss recovery funding, our spending changed. This formula did not change. This formula does not back out one-time dollars that are for supplemental activities and costs. This formula is meant in a normal year to take the amount of your general fund and all of your restricted programs that would not be for teacher or aide, classroom aide salaries. So what wouldn't be for teacher or classroom aide salaries? So for instance, our routine restricted maintenance is excluded from the formula. We got kitchen infrastructure training funding in the general fund, but that's not for classroom expenditures. That's for the kitchen and the cafeteria, so that would be excluded. So specifically dollars that are given with an intent that they be used for a purpose which would not include classroom salaries is excluded from this calculation. But dollars such as ESSER 3 specifically in this year, doesn't have an exclusion. And as a matter of fact, the district did use a lot of our ESSER 3 funds for things that touched extra time as far as teachers in the schools. So those dollars are included in our calculation this year. They provided those supplemental expenditures that they were intended to provide, but that's obviously us adding above and beyond what our basic instructional program is. So what does that look like, and why am I saying all of that? Because if we specifically only excluded those ESSER 3 funds, which are one time, we don't have continuing in the future, and we use them for all of those supplemental purposes, if we excluded that amount that was provided to us, our CEA percentage would be 60.3%. So again, we use the funds, they were given to us, we were happy to implement them, but as a result of these post-pandemic years, that increase in all of that supplemental spending with all of those additional one-time dollars does impact this formula, because this formula does not exclude those one-time dollars. So I spent a lot of time on that. Feel free to ask any questions. I really didn't plan to spend that much time on it, but I want to make sure I thoroughly cover this. So BCSD is eligible for a waiver from this requirement Because one of the eligibility thresholds for the waiver is that the district compensates their teachers above the comparable districts. We don't get to unilaterally cherry pick the districts that we want to compare to, right? The superintendent of schools office oversees that waiver and that application, and they guide what is a comparable district. A comparable district, we are a large district. A comparable district is the other largest districts within Bakersfield. So it's within your similar city because it's within your similar economic situation. So of our comparable districts, and there are 4 districts that we compare to, the 4 next largest elementary districts, BCSD does have higher compensation than all of those neighboring districts. Therefore, we have met the requirement for getting a waiver from the CEA requirement for the 2024-25 year. As Mr. Comstock mentioned, we would never bring that before the board if the county hasn't already verified it. We're not self-certifying here. So the county has reviewed that, they have verified that, they have verified our eligibility for that waiver, and they have approved that waiver. Well, sorry, I moved forward, but if there was anything that I missed, please feel free to let me know. So from this point, tonight I am recommending the board's approval of the district's unaudited actual report. With that approval, then, the district would formally file that report with the superintendent of schools office, and they would forward that to the California Department of Education. Our fiscal services department is already concurrently working with our financial auditors. Our in-person visit was last week. Thus far, we are having a wonderful audit. No findings last week. We're continuing to follow up with additional information as the testing continues, but we're looking good so far. And once our financial statements are audited, the audited financial statements then come back before the board at the December board meeting. And that is my introduction to that.
Any questions for Sherry before we move on to the next item? Alrighty, thank you very much. So we're going to move on to item number 2, that's the approval of the application for exemption from the required expenditures for classroom teacher salaries. It is recommended that that application be approved. Do I have a motion? Don't all go at once.
To have discussion, we have the motion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in order to discuss.
I move that we approve.
Thank you, Laura. Do I have a second?
Can't discuss unless we move forward, so.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, thank you. I was right about to. So let's discuss.
I feel like I would like to know more about this and understand more details. I wonder if it's possible if we could table it, if there would be any repercussions for that, if we were able to table it until the next meeting.
Ms. Bob?
You know, I don't know what the timeline is for the waiver. I'm waiting another month until the October meeting. I don't know the repercussions of that tonight and whether that would allow for us to still receive our full LCFF allocation from the prior year. I can get that information, but it would be after this board meeting. If that's what the board is comfortable with, then that's the motion that you go forward with. If the timeline is no longer available for us for the waiver, the result is of the final payment of our LCFF entitlement for the 24-25 year, we would not be eligible to receive that deficiency amount of the $8 million. We would, although our teacher salary and compensation was higher than all of our neighboring districts, we would have to put out some type of payment before we would receive that payment. Now we've closed our books, and the
So we've closed our books, the numbers are what they not are. That would be over $8 million of spending not tied to an additional direct service and that was not within our budget. But we would not get our full LCFF funding, which we are entitled to because we do qualify for that waiver. But that would be the repercussion.
Could this be on our special meeting agenda? Again, she doesn't know the timeline, so. No, but I'm saying
Okay.
not
We have
our
an-
meeting a
We have
month
an
from now.
October
but
10th meeting.
The unaudited actual report has to be submitted this month. So
Yes,
that
that we
is a
understand.
finite thing.
Yes.
This is a portion of that report. We have always submitted the waiver with the report, and so we've not ever had to explore any different timeline because those have always been submitted together. So, I mean, I'm sure that there is the ability to submit it late. I don't know if that changes the CDE's approval perspective or outlook on that if it is submitted late after the unaudited actual report is submitted, because I didn't look at that, so I can't speak to it.
Could you speak to other districts that have had to do the similar waiver this year?
So for 24-25, I don't know, but I can tell you as recently as 23-24, because all of that data is available. For elementary districts, about 60% of elementary districts do not meet the CEA exemption for exactly the reason that I just shared with the board. We're all spending all of this additional supplemental funding that has come with us. Although you may even be spending it in the classroom on computers, because computers or hotspots for children at home are all things that directly impact instruction. All of the earlier years was a lot of pandemic PPE supplies and the such, but additional health positions, they all are part of our instructional program, but they don't fall specifically in the teacher and aide salary and benefit category. So although you receive those dollars to do all of these supplemental services and items, you spend the dollars, but it counts against you in this formula. And until we have run through all of those dollars, we're not going to return back to the environment where we're only dealing with our normal funding sources and our normal spending levels. And although, again, Mr. Comstock says, Sherry likes to remind you that this is an out-of-date formula, let me go ahead and throw it out there. This formula is from the 70s, right? There weren't even computers in the classroom in the 70s, but yet that's a classroom supply right now. Gas was 10 cents a gallon, and the median home price in California was below $50,000. So it's not necessarily comparable today. I didn't put it in my presentation because, he was joking that I say it every year, so I didn't want to, but I will say, at the time that formula was designed, do we believe that they foresaw that we were going to have a pandemic and they were going to be sending out hundreds of millions of dollars to school districts to address learning loss recovery, address effects of the pandemic, including I think it was one of our public speakers that commented that districts received all of this money for HVAC upgrades. Yes, we did, and we improved the air quality in our schools, and that was one of the allowable uses. But all of these activities don't count towards benefiting this program. They actually, this formula, they actually hurt the output of the 60%. And as we start to run through all of those funds, either their timeline is sunsetting or we're spending them down, we will be returning back to our normal spending pattern. And as an example to show you in the presentation, we looked at, B looked at for us, what it looks like when you back out just one of those one-time programs that we had in this year, and you said, hey, if not for that additional spending that we were doing with those dollars, would we have made our formula? So in a normalized year, without this influx of money and this influx of these supplemental expenditures, would we have made our formula? And we would have made our formula. We're, to your point, Dr. Cruz-Boone, we're not singular in this. 60% of the districts didn't meet it last year. I don't know the percentage yet this year because everybody's completing their unaudited actual reports and taking them before their board to be submitted. So I'm a few months away from having the culmination of that data being available to us. But I would assume that percent would be equally as high this year. because again, this is 2024-25 was the final of all of the ESSER funding, and the 24-25 year was the sunsetting year on a lot of the one-time funds. We still have additional funds that go through for the next 2 fiscal years, but we are coming down to the wind down on those timelines.
2 things. You know, I appreciate this law as an educator because its purpose is to make sure that politicians or misdirected people change the focus of our school budget outside of the classroom. We don't want, you know, 40% of our budget, like the CSU, to turn into going to just administrators, right? And so when you look at the way that the funding model is in like the CSUs and the community colleges or K through 12 education, there really has been an abuse of their budget because they don't have a law like this that says our core duty is what happens in the classroom. And that's not to discount your point that we didn't know all the extra COVID money or things like that were going to happen, but I think the intent of that law, the spirit of that law is still important. And so I have trouble with this every year, and I shared with the superintendent at our board prep. I really am uncomfortable with this every single year. This is not, you know, my feelings have nothing to do with whatever Mr. Comstock said. I had those feelings every year, and I had that feeling earlier this week. But I think it is a powerful conversation for us because of the needs that we meet in our community. A lot of people want a piece of BCSD, but they don't realize at the core of what we do is what our teacher aides and our teachers do, because they have the most contact, actual physical day-to-day conversational contact with kids, and that's where all of our outcomes come from. And so that's why this is hard for me as a fellow educator. And because of that, I would ask that maybe we do a roll call vote to see what maybe the next steps are, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, I definitely think we would do a roll call in either case, just knowing how touchy this subject is. A question about the $8 million. So if we're at 58% for salaries from the general fund for teacher salaries, is the $8 million being made up somewhere else outside of the general fund, and if so, how? Okay. Let's say we don't approve this. Let's say the application is denied, and that we don't approve this. Do we get to use that $8 million for teacher salary somehow? Like, what does that look like if we don't approve things?
So the $8 million comes out of our finances as we have them right now. You don't receive that final payment until you've paid out the $8 million, but keep in mind that our total revenue for the 24-25 year doesn't grow by $8 million. It's just $8 million that wasn't a planned expense in the budget, then has to be supported from last year's budget. Because remember that we get our payments from the state, and especially we have that deferral, right? And so we get our payments through the end of the year. There, you submit your reports, and that issues your payment schedule, right? So they will withhold. So we have payments that come in every single month. They will withhold $8 million, or the amount of the deficiency, from the very next payment that comes up. Once you've submitted and they've received your report and you declare that deficiency, they will then take that payment and say, oh, we shouldn't have given you that in 24-25. We withhold it from today. They withhold it until you would say, hey, I've paid this out. And so then we would consider that, like we haven't prepared our financial statements yet, we would consider that a cost of the 24-25 year. It just wasn't within our budget.
But our one-time dollars that we used, like for like our SEL modules and stuff, that is quantified into this number, or is it into the 60% number?
It is quantified into this percentage, yes. No, actually, yes, it is. That is one of the things, it did count in this formula. We paid that out of our ESSER 3 funds. So like when I backed out, hey, if we didn't have these ESSER 3 funds and we didn't do all of this supplemental spending, I mean, that's an example of, for the teachers component and the classroom aides component, that counted towards this formula. But the 1,200 of every other employee group counted against this formula. So it's a win and a loss with that same activity.
I want to be responsive to the Teachers Association as always, but at the same time, I feel that this is maybe not an issue that can be resolved over the next couple weeks. So I think that I actually am in favor of voting yes, just because of the timeline that we have and continuing the conversation. I know that Mr. Comstock is always welcome to contact us, and we always take his calls. So I'm just feeling like it's this conversation. I wish it would have happened sooner.
Is this coming back next year too?
Yep. Every year. Every year since the 70s. So not really any indication that this would go away. But would a waiver be coming back before you next year?
Yeah.
No, I don't foresee that. Or
Yeah,
at the end of this year.
That's what I meant, yeah.
Sorry, I misread what you were saying, but do I foresee a waiver coming to you? No, because we improved so much over the 24-25 year, and the amount of that supplemental one-time spending that we have in this budget is not equivalent to what we had last year, so I don't foresee that. I don't foresee that being necessary for the 25-26 year.
So we have a motion, we have a second, we already had discussion.
Any more discussion? Only not heard from all of us, but just making sure. Cool, so we'll do a roll call vote on this, and we'll just go in line. We'll start with Mr. Mike Eggert, and I'll recall that the motion is to approve of the application to exempt our district. So, Mike?
No.
CCB?
Abstain?
Brooke?
Abstain.
Laura?
Yes.
And
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm going to be an abstention too, so that we can find out what the where we're moving towards. So we have one yes, we have one no, we have 3 abstentions. Would we like to have another motion?
Can we
Have another discussion.
Yes, another motion so that we can have another
so we can have another discussion.
discussion. Somebody have a different proposal?
Oh, did you make a motion?
Well, you have to have another proposal as we did. a
Oh, I
motion,
thought we were-
second,
okay,
and then.
sorry.
So we had a
You
motion
can make the
to,
same motion again. I mean, that's a lot.
we had a motion to approve it, and that motion did not pass. So we'll need another motion so that we can get past this item. So,
I motion that we approve.
I'll second for discussion.
okay,
And can we hear from Dr. Aguilar report on this better?
Do you have thoughts, sir?
sure, yeah. Let's hear.
Here are the facts. Even if the board decides I'm going with a no, even if the board decides that we are not going to move forward with this, at the very end, the intent, and that's what I am reading, is to figure out how we use that exact percentage to compensate to our teachers, to our teachers' aides in the classroom. That is what I can read is the intent, and that's the desire. And this is not offering right now that possibility. That's one piece. So even if that is true, and we still have that amount of money, we will be penalized as a district. And at the very end, the board will not have possibilities of approving increases of any kind, because now the district will have to go through this. That's how. Now, again, I'm giving you factual pieces of cause and effect.
Consequences of our votes.
And you have to live with that. And if the desire is to discuss that even further, we could have had that conversation before.
Right.
And I don't know if the team can provide additional information that may put the board at ease with this decision. So that's how I see it right now. Now, in terms of procedural legalities, one can put something in the middle right now of getting the facts again and responding to all these questions and have a special board meeting. And it has to be soon so that the board can make even a better informed decision. I'm not sure that the information that we will get will take you to that level, but that's how I see it. It's at the very end, again, and I have nothing to lose here, you are the ones who will live with the decision that you make. And at the very end, the district, regardless what is the decision, the archive of the district will show this is where we are. So I don't know if I help and I complicated things, but this is a factual piece for me.
I was going to suggest as well, we can pass an agenda item with even just one vote. If the other members don't want to vote yes, they don't have to vote no. And that is another option.
The what?
What do you mean?
If all of us abstained and Laura voted yes, it would pass.
Still a majority.
It's still a majority. I'm not pressuring anyone to vote anyway, but if we don't want to be on the record as voting yes.
I would believe that it falls flat, right? Because it's not an approval vote. So
It has to have a
it would
majority of
have to
3
be
votes.
3 or more yeses for it to approve. And if it was 1 yes and the rest were abstention, then the motion would fall flat.
Would fail, we would need another motion.
Okay.
Has to be majority at least.
Can I move to approve?
Okay, well, we already have the motion
I
there.
said motion, you
Okay.
second.
Mike, you wanted to say something?
I mean, we're talking about a special meeting. I know we're meeting on October the 10th.
Right.
I mean, it's not like we're waiting all the way to our board meeting. We have already that scheduled for Friday, October the 10th. You know, is that enough time? You know, we might get to the same conclusion that we have tonight, but I think we can make a more educated and have, you know, change the tide on, you know, on this.
Ms. Gladden, did you say that the end of this month is something? What was that?
So our unaudited actual report, so this Form CEA,
Yes.
it's submitted in September. It is due and
Okay.
required in September.
That's-
What I
that's
don't
what it
know is the waiver. There may be a longer timeline on the waiver. We've never explored that because we've always submitted it in conjunction with our unaudited actual report and on the due date of the unaudited actual report. So that's just not something that I knew to look up before this meeting, so I apologize for that.
No.
So is it possible to have an amended motion that only approves the unaudited items? Actual.
They're 2 separate agenda items
It-
anyways.
then
So.
it seems to me that there,
But
I would
both
suggest
go
that the board,
was that, did I understand that correctly, Ms. Gladden?
So we can
Both
still
of them
approve
go
the,
together.
No, we can, there's separate items, so we
Right,
can vote
but
on them
usually
separately.
she submits both of them together, right?
generally speaking, yeah.
You know, but how we submit them will be based on the board approves the waiver or they don't approve the
they
waiver,
don't.
and so we submit it or we don't submit it. I mean, the outcome will just depend on what the board's vote is here.
I am also in agreement. We should have had this conversation sooner.
Well, they do give us the board, we do have a board agenda review the week before our board meeting for the most part, so there was more than enough time to
That's
have
true, but
discussion.
not everything's gonna always come out in those board agenda reviews.
It is nice to have a discussion with all board members, actually.
Yeah,
Say that.
sometimes the only way to have a conversation is together.
But I don't think we can be having a
Should've been
conversation,
last
an
month.
agenda item.
Then we
before the
have the
board of
meeting
three.
and have the discussion like we're doing right now.
My point was, I wish it would have been brought to us sooner.
Yeah.
As a
Yeah.
concern.
Well, we have a motion. We have a
Yes.
second.
So you wanna do roll call?
We'll
Or,
do another roll call vote.
okay,
And I will remind us that this does need a majority yes to be approved and submitted when we normally do that in September.
okay.
We ready?
Yes.
All right, Mike,
Abstain.
CCP,
Abstain?
Brooke,
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
I'm going to abstain. And I'd like to propose a motion that we table this until the 10th. And discuss this after we've had a few days, a couple of weeks to look at it. So the motion currently on the floor is to table this motion, or table this agenda item until the 10th of October.
Second.
Can we also double check the rules about the majority required, just to make sure?
I'm asking legal
Robert,
counsel.
Robert
Just,
rules
yeah,
of order
just
real
triple
quick.
check for me. No, we don't need to do it right now, we can look at it later. Huh?
We, yeah, more.
No, yes, that was done right there. You're over.
Flat.
Yeah.
So, there's currently a motion on the floor to table this until the 10th. It also has a second. We have discussion on that motion.
Awesome.
Who first and second? I'm sorry.
I was the
Anthony
one who
first.
motioned it.
And?
It was seconded by Mike.
Got it, thank you.
And I don't think we'll need to discuss it, but we will do a roll call vote. So
Now
the,
what are we voting?
so the motion is to wait to decide on this until the 10th.
So table it.
Yep.
That's the motion.
Yep. Mike?
Yes.
CCB?
Yes.
Brooke?
Yes.
Laura?
No.
And I'm a yes as well. We'll move on to item number 3. Approval of the unaudited actuals financial report for the 24-25 school years. It is recommended that report be approved.
This is Chris, so moved.
Second by Mike.
Any discussion on this item?
I loved the report with the different pop-in of the lines. It made it so much easier to follow.
Oh, good.
That was awesome. Sorry.
Okay, can I have just a second?
Oh yeah, to make sure that
Yeah.
prior one was
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
Of course, of course. So right now the motion is on the 3rd item here.
And
It's been
who's it by?
seconded. So the motion.
I made the motion.
The CCB.
I second it.
Mike seconds that motion for item number 3.
Okay, and was it unanimous or did
We're gonna do that right now. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to item number 4, adoption of the resolution establishing the appropriations GAN limit. It is recommended that resolution be approved. Adopted.
This is Laura, I motion.
This is Chris, I second.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, hold on just a second, sorry, I'm not.
Lauda and CCB. Lauda first.
For H4.
Sorry.
I know what you mean.
Okay, I'm there.
Complicated,
How are we doing?
complicated meeting. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to letter I, Human Resources, the Assistant Superintendent's report. Mrs. Christine Cornejo.
Thank you, President Fuentes. This evening, I'm bringing before the board the classified and certificated HR report for your consideration and approval.
Thank you very much. Item number 2 is the approval of the Classified Human Resources report. It is recommended to be approved.
Make a motion.
Thank you.
This is Chris, I second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item number 3, approval of the certificated. Oh yes.
Sorry.
I'm Russian. That's on me. Number 3 will be the approval of the certificated human resources report. So
I'll move to approve.
that'll be.
Brooke?
Wait a minute, do we have number 2 all good? Sorry, the first one, classified?
Number
I2.
I'm doing it right now, just one moment.
Okay, we had Lauda, we had CCB, we had, cool. So the second one is the certificated. I think I heard Brooke just motion.
This is Chris, I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous on that one, unanimous vote. Moving on to letter J, the board policies. Number 1 is the revisions to the board policies and procedures of the Bakersfield City School District, section 400.40, recognitions of religious beliefs and customs. This is a first reading, so only up for discussion. Any?
It's crazy this hasn't been updated in 20 years. Good changes.
Any other discussion? Cool. We'll move on to item number 2, revision of the board, policies and procedures of the Bakersfield City School District. Section 400.40, recognition of religious beliefs and customs, administrative regulation. First reading. Also up only for discussion at the moment. Alrighty. Moving on to letter K, the consent agenda. It is number 1 is the approval of that consent agenda. It is recommended it be approved as submitted.
This is Chris. I motion that we approve as submitted.
Thank you.
This is Brooke, I second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the consent agenda?
Yes.
All right.
On number 7, consultant services. Wait,
I think that's 8.
I'm sorry, 8. Well, it changed.
Cool. Yep, 8.
Number 8, under consultant services for Department Muncie, Pinpoint, Dance Academy. There's 1, 2, 3 consultant agreements. On this one, I have a concern. I'm going to approve it, but I like to see like the evidence of the work. Also, as a Dance Academy, like what are the students learning and like what is the product?
For Pinpoint?
Yes.
Sorry. Oh, so part of one of the things the principal does, she's does during the school time, she does a dance, and then after school she also does dance. And she, I don't, if you ever go, we can have her maybe give us some dates of when they're going to do performances. So the principal actually has, well, a few years back she made her own tap shoes. She's a tap dancer and tap instructor. And so part of it is, she tries to do it herself, but part of it she ended up having Pinpoint go out and do some of the dance. But she's big into dance and anything like that has to do with dance. So it's part of what she does after school and during school time. And it's different incentives to get kids involved during lunchtime is when she does that with her students. And then after school she also does a class with their kids, but also Pinpoint does it. We absolutely can definitely, I can reach out to her tomorrow. She was here actually that got an award. Yeah. She was here, the principal that received an award, that was her, Sarah Reed, yeah. But we can absolutely ask her, by tomorrow I'll get you some invites to, it's really neat to see it. Oh, now I'm going off topic, but it's really
great.
Thank you.
I know that like for the other stuff, like for VAPA, the Visual Performing Arts, like all these mariachis and all this stuff, we see that and we get invitations, so we actually, it falls on us if we can't make it, you know, but we do get the invite.
Okay.
And for this one, I just, you know, I've seen it on the agenda before, and I don't think I've ever seen it or we've ever been, as a board, been invited to it.
We had been asking about it for quite a while.
I remember you asked a couple board meetings ago about it too. So you're saying this consultant for the Pinpoint is the actual principal?
No, that she's one that advocates for dancing, and she actually is a tap
I was gonna say, wait a minute.
It's just the dance part, it's the music part, so it just extends to different parts of the school.
Okay, so it just helps that she's a tap dancer.
Yeah,
so.
she's just, you know, some people have their things that they like to advocate for.
We just want to see the kids dance.
Yeah.
I want to see the outcome. If we're approving all these consultants, we want to see what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
Because anything can look nice in paper and you know, you can sell something on paper, but I want to see the actual product or what it is. Or maybe if we can't make it or if they're having it during the school day, I understand, you know, half of our board is at their regular job during, maybe we can have our communications department go out there and do a video on it.
Absolutely.
Some sort of presentation.
Definitely.
But I mean, moving forward, I as a board member would like to see more of the work that we're approving.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'd be fun.
And that would just, what was the other?
I'm very happy we're doing business with a Black-owned business though too. It is a Black-owned business.
Yes. That was it on my discussion. Thank you.
Alrighty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to letter L, closing items. Adjournment is recommended.
This is Chris. I move to adjourn.
This is loud, I second. Nobody
Thank
wants
you.
to go home?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I was like, wait,